Let me see. Good evening, everybody. It is 6:30, and I think we do have enough folks now to start. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 pursuant to the governor's executive order establishing a pandemic disaster in the state of Illinois that covers the county of Champaign, and the county executive's determination that holding this meeting in person is not prudent at this time due to health concerns with rising numbers of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations being reported in the county. This meeting is being held remotely via Zoom. The county executive is physically located at Brookins. Public comment will also be taken remotely, and the public may watch the meeting live or via recording on the county's YouTube channel. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Rodriguez.
Here.
Storr.
Here.
Straub.
Here.
Summers.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Thorsland.
Here.
Vulcan.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Cowart. Esri.
Present.
Furtado. Goss.
Here.
Harper.
Here.
King.
Here.
Lockshin.
Here.
McGuire. Michaels.
Present.
Pasalacqua.
Here.
Paul. Patterson,
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum and the meeting is called to order. Next is the prayer. Tonight's prayer is from Wynne Collier. When John Lewis, an American congressman and civil rights leader, died in 2020, people from many political persuasions mourned. When you see something that is not right, not just, not fair, Lewis said, you have a moral obligation to say something, to do something. He also said, never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get into good, necessary trouble. Lewis learned early that doing what was right, to be faithful to the truth, required making good trouble. He would need to speak things that were unpopular sometimes. Heavenly Father, if I'm left to myself, I'm likely to play it safe, stay comfortable, keep quiet. But I know that you might ask something different. Help me to discern what to do to honor you. Amen. Pledge of Allegiance, if you want to rise with me, you can. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please read the notice of the meeting?
Until the hotel is ready for guests. They say restoration is still going well.
notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois will convene on September 23rd, 2021, 6:30 p.m. via Zoom and the Perkins Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Okay, thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Mr. Esri?
So moved.
Second, Rodriguez.
Thank you. Discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Walton,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Pasalacqua,
Yes.
Paul, Patterson.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. Next is the date and time of the next regular meetings. The standing committees are Highway, County Facilities, Environment, and Land Use. I would like to note that the Highway and Transportation Committee meeting on October has been canceled as of today. So there will no longer be a meeting in October. The Committee of the Whole, Justice and Social Service Committee, will meet on October 12th. The two special committees will also be meeting in October. The Jail Facilities Committee on October 6th and the Broadband Task Force on October 26th. And then the next regular meeting of the board will be October 21st. And it's not in October, but coming up next Thursday is the Special Finance Committee to talk about the budget on the 30th of September. Okay, next is public participation. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak tonight? I see that there are some hands raised. So as I call you, we'll need to allow you to speak. Micah McMahon is first. And MC, you're going to have to allow them to speak. Micah McMahon, please. MC, can you allow them to speak? Can you take them off mute? I can't see to do that. You might need to move them over to the panelists to be able to speak. I'm not sure. There you go. Okay, Micah, can you talk? Can we hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Great. So to start off, my name is Micah McMahon. I'm an elected representative of the Fraternal Order of Police, Labor Council, and Correctional Officer here at Champaign County Sheriff's Office. Many of you have seen me speak at a few meetings regarding both the closure of the downtown jail and COVID hazard pay. In June, when I spoke, I used the word inaction to describe what was being done regarding the downtown jail and the rehabilitation of the satellite jail. Even after that speech, I have yet to see anything be done on either issue. During these past few months, safety continues to be an issue. Space is extremely limited at the satellite jail, and officer morale continues to drop to an all-time low, which has only made the retention issue even harder. At the last committee of the whole meeting, it was discussed that the satellite jail only needed $20 million at a minimum to complete a basic rehab. The history will show that every time the county chooses a minimum option regarding the jail, you end up creating a future crisis. The minimum of $20 million will not help create the space and foster the programs that this county wants for its inmates. It will not alleviate the population in booking, which increasingly is filled with high security inmates, which have proven to be a danger to themselves or others. I understand that the concept of building jails isn't popular, but what the public fails to realize is that nobody is building jails. We are asking to rehabilitate a current jail to better serve the needs of its population and make it safer for officers and the population. I implore the county board to not take the cheap minimum option. When the satellite jail was originally built, it was outdated as soon as the plans were approved. Why? Because the county chose the minimum option back then and prevented the closure of the downtown jail. Now, 25 years later, we are in crisis mode due to the outcomes of the decisions made back then. The other topic I wanted to address is COVID hazard pay. I have yet to see any serious discussion regarding taking care of those who have worked 24/7 through the pandemic for this county, with direct exposure to those who were COVID positive on a daily basis. Not only do officers endure strict PPE protocols, but we've managed to keep any major outbreaks from occurring within the jail's general population, which is something that a lot of other counties and jails cannot say. The county approved recently a $5,000 sign-on bonus, which is an effective tool for recruitment. This unfortunately leaves out dozens of officers who have already worked extremely hard and continue to even more so due to our retention and low staffing levels. I ask you to please consider all of this when you make your decision regarding COVID hazard pay. It won't solve our retention issues, but it will send a message to those working hard that the county cares about its employees. We need action to end these issues. This isn't a partisan issue. It's a humanitarian issue. Please consider approving additional funds for the satellite jail rehab and provide employees of the sheriff's office with COVID hazard pay. Thank you very much, members of the board.
Okay, next is Scott Burge. Mr. Burge, I believe you can
Thank you.
speak.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. I am speaking tonight in support of the proposed zoning amendment, which I believe is item 16B on the agenda, to enable an agronomic research and training facility to be permitted as a special use in the Ag 1 zoning district. And this item was recently discussed at the City of Urbana board meeting, where it was protested, citing concerns about water pollution and the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. And the catalyst for this particular zoning amendment was a particular facility in South Champaign County that is an agronomic research facility. And one of the potential uses for an agronomic research facility is to combat some of these environmental concerns. I appreciate the environmental concern that the city of Urbana raised, I do think that it is a very much a concern that we have to address. But an agronomic research facility such as the one proposed is actually intended to combat things, just as the city of Urbana brings to the attention here. So one of the proposed uses that this facility is going to have is to research precision agriculture, which is a way to locate crops and locate inputs onto crops, such as fertilizers, in a very precise manner. So you're not just spreading fertilizer, broadcasting it over a large area. And that is in an effort to reduce runoff, which is part of what's creating the environmental concern in the Gulf of Mexico. So the exact reason that the city of Urbana is protesting this particular use is actually one of the things that this facility is going to try to combat. And so my challenge to the board at this point is, as you're considering whether or not to vote in support of it, is that agronomic research facilities, just like the one proposed, are actually trying to combat some of these environmental challenges and other challenges that we'll face actually now and into the future. And so I just ask that you consider that as you vote for that amendment. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Next is Michael Larson.
Can you hear me?
We can, Mr. Larson.
Great, thank you. Appreciate your guys' time. I'll try to be brief here. Again, Mike Larson. I am one of the side jobs I do, I'll call it. I'm a board member for the Sangamon Valley Public Water District. And I'm here tonight to brief you about a project we would like to move forward with. It's something that you guys are probably familiar with. As you probably know, north of Mahomet, there's several families whose homes, wells, have been contaminated by People's Gas underground gas storage. Unfortunately, People's Gas hasn't been able to resolve the issue, and other judicial attempts and legislative attempts to get money to move that project forward have not been successful to date. So we're kind of reaching out a little bit of a primer. I understand you guys are establishing a process to allocate the ARPA funds that you guys received. And I'm just kind of wanting to plant a seed tonight to keep an eye out for that from us. We believe that we really have the best and by far the most cost-effective solution to this problem. And this is a very real problem. And some of you that have been on the board long enough, there was a former board member that actually lives in one of the houses that has this issue. So you're probably very well aware of how real an issue it is. And for those of you that aren't aware, just imagine getting in your tub and being able to light your water on fire because there's natural gas in it. So our project is basically, we have a water main that runs a couple miles north of 47, and we can extend that water main up to provide service, clean water to those folks. So we have actually used district money to get the process started. We are a user-funded district, so we really don't have funding to just tackle this project ourselves. So we're looking to try to get grant money or whatever we can to help pay for that. We have made a plea to the legislature, and there is money that's been allocated, but it's sitting, I believe, on the governor's desk waiting to be approved. And to be honest, we have no idea when or if that will be approved. And the bottom line, even if it is approved, it's not going to be enough to complete the project, especially as you guys all know, I'm sure the cost of doing work continues to go up, especially with COVID. So we're going to come to you with a request for the current project estimate that we have is 3.8 million. I understand you guys probably don't have quite that much money, but anything that you guys could share, even if we could get started with the engineering work and the easement work, because there's a lot there, that would help us start moving this forward. So I'm appealing to you guys to please consider these residents who, it is a very difficult situation. If you aren't aware of it, we encourage you, look online, you can read about it. Or like I said, the former board member, I'm sure county board member, I'm sure she'd be happy to share with you her challenges. So again, appreciate your time and look forward to the chance to talk to you about this in a little more detail. I think the Executive Kloppel that shared some of the information. So we have a detailed plan. We're ready to move forward. We just need the money to be able to do that. So again, thank you for your time.
Okay, next we have James Corbin. Mr. Corbin, I believe that you can speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. Yes, my name is James Corbin. I also use the acronym of Tiger, and I'm an outreach specialist for First Followers, and I come to you tonight just to discuss the H3 model that we pitched, which is a proactive solution to gun violence at this time. And real quick, we see the recent rise in gun violence, according to the New York Times, has rose almost 30% in the year 2020. And thousands of young individuals experience some form of physical assault in emergency rooms across America. Also, within the results of gun violence, we are seeing that ages 16 to 24, this is the third leading cause of death for young individuals, and the number one leading cause for African Americans at this time for the same age group. Most of the gun violence is 93% African American or black on black crime. Some of the excuse me, some of the factors which are leading this violence or youth violence, where we're seeing this increase, especially during COVID, is poverty, low education, lack of training, good job training, lack of vision, as well as hopelessness, racial disparity, and lack of positive role models, just to name a few, you know. And so what we're proposing is, again, with the H3 model, which is harm, help, and as well as healing, is a collective collaborative effort to engage in this struggle, what we're seeing right now, and work with law enforcement. Now, the part that I specialize in again is the community outreach specialist or the street team level intervention, which would be even better if we had other agencies as well as law enforcement working with us hand in hand on this effort. Each organization can work on with evidence-based practices that will help, such as the Richmond model, will help us address this solution and mitigate some of the street violence, which is what our aim is to do. Also, now there's 5 areas in this H3 model, which is counseling and support, as well as general education, economic development, community outreach, which is where I come in at, as well as civic engagement. The community outreach special or part would engage, like I say, street team intervention, as well as community training. We would like to bring in public speakers, have law enforcement in there, and have them, talk about the outcomes of this. It's going to take a community effort on a whole, a collaborative effort with a proactive solution to address much of what we're seeing as today. And finally, I would just like to leave and say that now with the proposal that we're proposing, it'd be a systematic approach to addressing the issue, as well as bringing in all other organizations to work under one hub to address it and bring down some of this violence. That's all I would like to say, and I thank you for this time. Thank you.
All right, Rich Hayes is next. Mr. Hayes.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
All right, my name is Richmond Hayes. I'm a PhD student in the counseling psychology program at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And more importantly, I'm a member of the Champaign community and a volunteer with First Followers. I research strengths-based approaches to restoring Black individuals, families, and communities who have been affected by the criminal legal system. Currently, I'm conducting a study which seeks to understand how we can use radical healing and radical hope to transform our community. From this perspective, I would like to introduce the importance of healing into tonight's conversation. Generally, healing is a positive term, but there is an agreement on a definition of healing. Most often, healing is associated with physiological and behavioral improvements that can be characterized by an individual's triumph over suffering. This traditional definition of healing is individualistic and does not recognize the connection of to the community that people, especially people of color, thrive within. So instead, I believe we need to adopt a definition of healing that brings healing and the community together in a radical way. And I use the word radical because complete change is necessary and the status quo needs to be challenged. We need a well-resourced, coordinated system of care driven by members of the community, of the impacted community, to address the issue of community violence. In this country, negative images about the humanity of people of color are a part of the history and the cultural fabric, and it comes at a cost. Research is telling us that discrimination and racism has adverse effects on communities of color, like poor physical health, poor mental health, and psychological distress. Not to mention that experiences of racism can produce racial trauma, which can impact individuals psychosocially in the form of weakened community relationships. Healing from racial trauma, healing from community violence, and healing from gun violence are radical acts. Therefore, a move needs to be made beyond just traditional notions of psychological healing, such as individual psychotherapy. And we need to take an intersectional approach that builds upon the cultural methods of healing in the Champaign community. And I'll end with this. Healing is important because it's what's necessary in order for us to become whole, to transform environments, and to promote joy-filled lives. One way of thinking about healing would be in terms of the radical healing that I referred to, and I encourage everyone to look into. Radical healing is a process whose end goal is restoration. This is achieved by individuals and communities focusing on and building upon their strengths, as well as addressing challenges. Healing is a community endeavor, and the radical healing framework emphasizes that it is our collective responsibility to mend historical and soul wounds and to heal the harms people have experienced. The increase in violence, especially gun violence during the pandemic, is calling us to act. And in that plan of action, I would urge the county board to remember the importance of healing. Thank you.
Okay, I believe Josh Payne is next. No, I'm sorry, Rich Haynes. Nope, that was
That's who just spoke.
That was
yeah.
Rich. Okay, sorry. Moving on, Josh Payne.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Josh Payne. I am a crisis intervention at-risk youth mentor and also a community outreach specialist. I'm coming to you guys tonight, speaking to you as a community member first, and also in support of First Followers' efforts and initiative to address the current state and crisis issue of violence in our town. I also am going to share briefly a little bit of my work that I'm currently doing as a community responder for CU Try's Healing Community Initiative. I know you guys have heard some of the speakers tonight speaking in support and giving a blueprint, some of the foundational pieces of the one-stop shop, the H3 Coalition model. And I'm sure some of you may be asking yourself, is this something that we've heard before? Is this something that's similar to this or similar to that? And I just want to share with you all that as someone who worked with CUAP, that helped start the CBRT group with the Champaign City Coalition, and has continued to volunteer with organizations like HB&T and train with violence interrupters, the Institute of Nonviolence, T.O. Hardiman, and other experts in mediation, crisis intervention, and violence prevention. I can assuredly tell you this effort that is being built right now under the tutelage and very hard collaborative work, networking of first followers, is by far the most dynamic a way to address this violence that this community has seen. And it is different and more ground level and more, as my brother just shared, more deeply rooted in the efforts of healing and restoration and liberation to free people from the issues, the economic, environmental issues that surround us, that are root causes like the pandemic and other things to this violence. I mentor at-risk young men right now. And on September 11th, a couple of my mentees' cousin was killed. If I could turn on my camera right now, you would see where I live, where I stay, where the economic situation is very dear and severe, and people hinge and fringe on trauma on a daily basis. And a man was murdered right on one street away from me, a 32-year-old man. And it was a cousin of two young men that I had been mentoring. And that was in the morning. That night, September 11th, was one of the most, thankfully no one died that night, but there was so many shootings, and one of the most violent nights. If you just happen to turn on the scanner and listen, on September 11th, there was about 6 or 7 shootings in succession across towns, Champaign and Urbana. And I am urging you to take a sincere look, a deep, in-depth look, and hear this H3 coalition, this collective effort, this community collective effort that Champaign should be on the cutting edge of, this county should be on the cutting edge of. And I am here dedicating my service to this because I believe in it more than any other program, more than any other effort, community collective effort than I have ever seen. And I've been a part of a lot of them in my 6.5, 7 years doing anti-violence in Champaign. So I just thank you all for your time. God bless you and have a wonderful evening.
Okay, I believe there is one more person, Cassandus. Cassandus, you don't want to speak tonight?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I'm sorry. It just popped up for me to unmute. Thank you so very much. I appreciate the privilege and the honor to be able to speak tonight. I am a grateful, honored member of First Followers. I'm a peer mentor, and I'm also a case manager for the First Step House. And this means so much to me because I was born and raised here in Champaign, Illinois, and never had to deal with so much violence in this town, period. And for me to hear it and see it every single day, and to be wanting to work for the community, to build it back up and to help the kids and the people that is dealing with the violence, doing it and having to deal with the aftermath behind it. What is being presented today is something that will help our community in a whole. It won't just help one set of people. It won't just help one part of town. It will help us as a community all together. Even people that's living in the suburbs that's not actually right in the area where the killings and the shooting is happening, It will even help that area because the simple reason that they are affected. We all are affected. I used to live in what they would call a very violent area of town, which is like the North End. And I was blessed to be able to move more west in Champaign. But at the same token, even living west in Champaign, I'm not protected away from the violence. It was unusual for it to happen, but it was a shooting here maybe a month and a half ago out on Duncan Road. And a young man was shot, I do believe. I can't recall because so much shooting been happening. But the young man was shot out here by the dollar store in an area where you wouldn't even believe it would even be happening. And that's maybe not too far from where I live at. It's a nice little way, but it's not that far. And it's just showing that the violence is going up, and trying to get all the organizations together, a one-stop shop, trying to get it where that you don't have to go here and there to get the help that you may need. You can come in one place. Us as first followers, we have already tried to start, something similar by doing the drop-in center, but we need more help. We need not just help from people that's involved, we need help from the community as one. The shootings happening at school, you got to have a metal detector in order to go to school. You don't feel comfortable with sending your kids to go get education. I mean, it's getting out of hand. And it's best for us to try something before we count it out, rather than say this is not going to work or that's not going to work. We don't know until we try it. And I put my heart on the fact of this working. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And you all have a nice night.
Charles Davidson.
Okay, you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you for the prayer also. But I wanted to talk about the gun violence. I'm also a mentor and a community navigator for First Followers. But I was born and raised here in Champaign, Urbana, 71 years ago. I seen gun violence happen in Champaign County before, but I never seen this level of gun violence, all these homicides in Champaign County. We must do something about this, or else it's going to get worse. Now, my brother got killed in 2017, August the 3rd, gun violence. It was the first upkeep of gun violence. His killer is still in the county jail. But since then, there's been, so many homicides, I can't count them. I was looking in the paper here a couple months ago. They was talking about the most dangerous cities to live in. Champaign was number 8 at that time. That was a couple months ago. Since then, there's been several homicides. It's probably 7 now. Champaign is getting worse. I was on Monday. I was on city council. This is talking to city council. It ran kind of late, so it was like 9:30, quarter to 10, and it was gun violence. I heard a shot being fired. Right, I'm over here on Florida, right off Philo. I heard shots being fired as I'm talking. Come to find out that the girl that got shot died last night or this morning sometime. I hear gun violence over here all the time. We really need to do something about this. And the one-stop shop, the community center, I got like pretty close to 100 people, 100 relatives in Champaign County. And none of the kids, I got great nieces, great nieces. None of the kids wants to go to school. None of them wants to come out and do anything. We really need that one-stop shop. We need that community center. But, a lot of people say the community is not talking. They scared to talk. But we need that one-stop shop to get him someplace to go so we can help everybody, you know. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your prayer. Have a good night. Thank you.
Angela O'Neill.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay. Hello. Good evening. I'm Angela O'Neill, and I've been on the call with you guys a few times. I spoke on one of them, and I'm a community member. I'm speaking as a mother who lost my son through gun violence here in 2015. My baby boy and my middle son was shot here twice, and he carried a weapon. So now he's in the jail for a long time. So it's an urgency to help us in this community. It's a need, it's a must. And once I told y'all how I felt at that time when my son was taken from me, I went out and I talked to people, and first followers heard my cry. They heard my need. They came, they searched, did research to get me in every class that they can get me in so that I can make it through this. And as a mother and as a community member, I say it's an urgency. It's really an urgency. Our children is dying, and I'm out here now being a community activist to let the other people that's going through the same thing I'm going through, let them know you're not alone. And we need to come together. Unity, we need unity in our community. And united we stand and divided we fall. We're in the best country ever, but we so divided, everything falling to piece. So I just want to say, I'm reaching out. Is an urgency. I'm crying out as a mother, as a community member that lost my son on Champaign County. So thank y'all so much. And I hope that y'all let first followers get in and help our community like they have been doing so far. Thank y'all.
God bless you, Payne.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands raised at this point. So I think we will close public participation. And now we're going back to the agenda. Can the executive get a motion for adoption of resolution number 2021-311, appointing Bethany Van Neechertharanot to District 5 to fill Jordan Humphrey's unexpired term ending November 30th, 2022. Ms. Lakshan?
Yes, so moved.
Okay, can I get a second? Mr. Patterson?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I would like to say that she has the prize for the longest last name. Okay.
I win that a lot.
Yes, I'm sure. Okay, can we vote, please? Will the clerk call the roll?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Wolkin,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lakshan,
Yes.
McGuire, Michaels,
Yes.
Passalacqua,
Yes.
Hall, Patterson,
Yes. Yes.
Okay, motion carries. It's now time for you to get your oath of office, Bethany. So is the clerk here? I think Aaron is here.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Beth, are you ready?
I am.
So I'll say aye, and you
Aaron,
repeat
could
after
you
me.
do, Aaron, do you have a way to do your picture as well, just so that it's on screen for this particular thing?
Sure, 1 second. Okay, can you all see me? Okay. All right, Beth, please repeat after me. I
I,
say your name,
Bethany Vanish Theronat,
having been appointed to
having been appointed to
the position of District 5 County Board Member
the position of District 5 County Board Member
in the state of Illinois,
in the state of Illinois,
in the county of Champaign aforesaid,
in the county of Champaign aforesaid,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of
the duties of
the position of County Board Member
the position of County Board Member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations and welcome aboard, Bethany Vanish Theronat.
You got it.
Welcome, Bethany. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Mr. Thorsland?
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Esri?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the, oh, no discussion on the consent agenda. Will you clerk call the roll, please?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Soar,
Yes, and I noticed that we skipped over communications.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll go back. No, we didn't. It's
Nope.
next.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Vanish Theronat,
Yes.
Wolken,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Okay.
Michaels,
Yes.
Pastelaqua,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Patterson.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Next is communications. Chris, do you have a communication?
It happens that I do. And I only have one monitor here, so I'm gonna bear with, okay. It happens that I've received communications from Bobby Ruby, who called in support of ARPA funding for the Garden Hills improvements and one-stop help center, perhaps to be located at local churches. I also received communications from Al Kagan, Carol Inskeep, Julie Watkins. I'm sorry, possibly one other person that urged us to reject spending of American Rescue Plan Act funding for renovating or expanding the jail, but to fund programs to address violence in our community and help those most hit affected by the COVID pandemic. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. King, do you have a communication?
Yes, Chris already did most of my communication. I'd also like to ask if members of the public who are still on this meeting are muted, make sure they're muted. because Ms. O'Neill seems not to be, and that's what's been causing she's dropping stuff. So
Yeah, I just asked our IT person to move them back over to the attendees side. I think that'll help. Okay, let's see. Ms. Loxton, did you have a communication?
Yes, I do. I also received emails from a few people. Samantha and I split them up because we had a few from our district. Tracy Quigg Thomas wrote in, said that she had spoke during public comment at the study session concerning community violence and wanted to make sure we consider using ARP funds on evidence-based programs to reduce violence in our community, including those being provided by First Followers and CU Tri. And she would like to see mental health programs be expanded in our community, not only in the jail. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Carter. You're muted, Samantha. Did you have something to put for communication?
I did. Can you just give me just a minute? You can go on to Ms. Rodriguez.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you. And I apologize in advance if you hear any kind of rustling around. My cat knows that I have Culver's on my desk and he's on the hunt. So I apologize for that. I wanted to acknowledge, first of all, some of the emails that I've gotten, but then also the comments that we received in public comment. In particular to Josh Payne. I've never met him in person, but I know his work and I admire his work. Thank you so much for coming to the meeting, and I hope that we receive comments like this in the future. Next, I wanted to acknowledge the experiences and trauma that people might be re-experiencing in presenting why this issue is personal to them. So like I've lived through the death of my future. I hear parents in particular coming forward and saying, like their own feelings or their own experience of death in the community. And that hits me. I get it. I know what it feels like to exit your body when you hear the sound of an ambulance siren. So thank you for reliving that trauma and simply just being here. That information is really valuable to us. I also just wanted to list that we also want a one-stop shop. I can't tell you how passionate about this I am, and Jim Kilgore knows this. James Kilgore knows this. We need a one-stop shop to deliver services that are aside from police forces to our community. That's something that I'm passionate about. So overall, thank you for showing up to our meeting, and I really hope to hear more of your comments. Thanks.
Okay, Ms. Carter, are you ready? Okay, you're still muted.
I'm having some issues with my internet, so I do apologize. So I have received a couple of emails from constituents, and one that stood out the most to me was Miss Marcia E. Nelson. I'm writing you with the upcoming further consideration of ARP funds. I am concerned that the sheriff has asked that half of the money, 20 million, go to improving the jails. I'm sorry. Okay, as you well know, discussion of the jail has been on the agenda a long time in this county, and various suggestions offered by me. I do not believe that this allocation will qualify in bringing COVID relief and addressing the inequities that this pandemic has brought to the people of color and low-income citizens, unless offering low-cost housing at the jail could be seen as relief. But no time for humor. I do believe that these funds do provide an opportunity to address community violence by getting at the roots of the violence. I favor use the funds to help streamline services to impacted communities, boost workforce development, and address the affordable housing deficiency. I was trying to bring up another one, Mr. Randall, but I'm having issues with my internet. I did also want to include President Joe Biden signed into law American Rescue Plan Act, March 11, 2021. This bill was passed through the budget reconciliation process. No Republican House or Senate member supported this bill. If ARP money are allocated towards the jail, this is my own personal opinion, I would include, or I would want to include special provisions, including no new beds, job training centers, and mental health services on site. And just from a little research that I did as far back as 2013, when this was a hot topic, I see in a lot of documentation that grant funding would be used to support paying for the jail redevelopment or enhancements. And I just don't think personally that ARP funds should be used in this process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that was it for public participation. And Ms. Larson, did you have one more thing?
I raised my hand and I have the same letter from Mr. Nelson that Samantha was having trouble with, and he had asked that it be read into the record. So I'll go ahead and read that if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Randall Nelson writes, it is imperative that we use ARP funds to address problems that have been aggravated by COVID-19. A study done by economists at the University of Michigan using national data published in July 2021 in Health Affairs highlighted those groups most affected by COVID-19. Mortality rates were 75% higher for those without work from home options, 78% higher for the uninsured compared to the insured, and 104% higher for those at or below the poverty line compared to those with incomes 4 times the poverty level or higher. I urge you to use ARP funds for programs that address the needs of those most affected by COVID-19. These are the people most likely to be suffering from racial discrimination. The increased gun violence that we are experiencing is not an isolated problem, but a symptom of a larger problem created when people are living without hope because of the lack of affordable housing, educational opportunities, and employment that provides a living wage. A major problem is that over 20% of the residents of Champaign County live below the poverty line, which is higher than the state average of 12.6%. ARP funds give us an opportunity to create or enhance community-based and community-led programs that will address the major problems of poverty, housing, education, and employment by providing easily accessible services for those underserved communities. The downtown jail is a big problem and nearly everyone agrees that it needs to be closed. However, it is not appropriate to use ARP funds for jail renovation. ARP funds are to be used to help those impacted by COVID-19, and the jail is largely used to punish those most affected by the virus. It makes more sense to use those funds to help provide opportunities for the marginalized in our community that will help reduce our jail population than to provide more capacity to incarcerate those who are struggling. And then he just notes that he would like it read into the record. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of August the 19th, 2021? Ms. Michaels?
So moved.
Okay, Ms. King?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion of the minutes? Okay, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Soar,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Spinach Thirinot,
Yes.
Wolken,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
McGuire, Michaels,
Yes.
Passalacqua,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next, we're down to item 13, which is standing committees. The summaries of action taken at the county facilities meeting on September the 7th, 2021. The Highway and Transportation Committee, September 10th, 2021, are both received and placed on file. Next, we have areas of responsibility. Summary of action taken September 14th, 2021 at the Committee of the Whole is received and placed on file. Special committees, summaries of action taken at the Jails Facility Committee on September the 8th, 2021, and the Broadband Task Force, September the 16th, 2021, are received and placed on file. And now we move to old business. These two items were brought over from the August meeting. The first is a memorandum regarding resolution number 2021-281. Can the executive get a motion to approve this, which has the corrections made from our comments at the last meeting?
So moved,
Ms.
Larson.
Larson, thank you. Mr. McGuire? Jim, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
Yeah, it's pushing the button.
Okay,
Second,
thank you.
thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll, please?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Van Steenraak,
Yes.
Vulcan,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lakshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Passalacqua,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next is adoption of ordinance number 2021-9, amending the zoning ordinance, zoning case 008-AT-21. Can I get a motion for that, please? Mr. McGuire? You're muted, Jim.
Yes, I'll motion.
Thank you. Mr. Goss?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Esri?
Yes, thank you. I was just wanting to make a few comments. The reason this needs 17 votes to pass, of course, is because Urbana protested it. And having gone and watched the Urbana City Council meeting where they protested it, the main reason that they protested it is the idea that the research, or well, the idea, as was spoken to in the public participation, is that the research could potentially add to, increase, however you want to say it, the dead zone, the hypoxia zone in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, first off, there's nothing keeping them from doing research on the ground as it is right now. They're only asking to have it rezoned, and they just asked this whole zoning amendment is because they came in and asked to put a facility there. Well, the current zoning doesn't allow the facility, but the Ag 1 and Ag 2 zoning right now would not prevent them from doing any kind of research on field crops that they would want to do anyway. So the idea that if it's going to add to the hypoxic zone, which they aren't going to be looking to add to the fertilizer bill or increase the fertilizer any more than is absolutely necessary, farmers aren't going to go out and apply on purpose extra fertilizer, which ultimately could increase the size of the dead zone in the Gulf. They aren't going to do that willingly because that hurts their bottom line. So their whole premise to me as to why Urbana protested this is kind of it just doesn't make sense to me as to why they protested it. It's already farm ground. They can already do the research there. They could even build a building there to house equipment in. What they're asking for is a facility to suit training and I think some conferences maybe on that piece of ground, which isn't allowed currently with the current zoning. So I would hope that we would be able to get the 17 votes minimum to override their protest. Again, their reason for protesting, and I'd also, another point, yes, this case is a case where it's a company that deals with fertilizer and chemicals who was asking to build this facility. But I don't know that you should base your decision of a zoning text ordinance, which would allow other potential research facilities to come in and place their business in this county on one particular case. It's just the fact that that case is what brought this. I guess I would classify it as kind of an overlook in our current zoning that doesn't allow these research facilities in. So I would hope that we would be able to get the 17 minimum votes. I would hope we would all vote for this to override Urbana's. And one final, note too, we already have research facilities in this county, including the U of I. So there's already research going on out there. This potential facility, if this zoning amendment would pass, would allow other research facilities besides this potential one down by Sydney, or actually it's a little closer to Tolono, but it would allow them to come into this county and hopefully provide jobs. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Thorsland.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron, for pointing out some things. Urbana, of course, has the right to protest, and they did. John has a memo that was available to board members tonight that was mailed out that spells out what the zoning case is, this change in the ordinance. I hope that the board will support it. I hope also that the concerns of Urbana aren't unheard, because this is also something that is a concern for people, not just farmers, but everyone. And perhaps some of the research that will happen here will actually be research to help minimize this problem. So I hope that the board can support it. And but I also want to acknowledge that Urbana has the right to protest it. And we, of course, have the right to override that protest. So thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez, did you have something else?
I simply wanted to mention that I would love to hear from the Urbana City Council intending to make a vote like this, both to our caucus and before the board. That's all. Thanks.
Okay. I don't see any other hands raised for further discussion, so we will go ahead and take a roll call vote. This does require 17 votes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Soar,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Benish Ciranat,
Yes.
Wolken,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Passalaqua,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. New business items on the board. Items A and B are auditor office items, and the county auditor is here tonight. If there's no objection, we'll do these as an omnibus motion. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 2021-308, authorizing payment of claims, and adoption of resolution number 2021-309, authorizing purchases not following purchasing policy. Can I get a motion? Ms. Benich, I'm sorry, Benich Thiranont.
Thank you. So motioned.
Okay, thank you. Second, Ms. Carter?
Second.
Yes, okay. Any discussion further on this question? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Soar,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Dorsland,
Yes.
Benny Steeranot,
Yes.
Wolken,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
No.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
No.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Passalaqua,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next, we're down to other business. Can the executive get a motion for item A, adoption of resolution number 2021-310, establishing the salaries of elected officials for the county clerk, county executive, sheriff, and treasurer? Ms. Furtado.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, can I get a second? Mr. Thorsland?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Mr. Goss?
Thank you. I'd like to submit an amendment if that'd be okay.
That's fine.
Just a moment.
Oh, you want to
I'm
put
a-
it on the screen? You want to put it up on the screen?
No, I can read it here. I move to amend the motion as follows. The salary for the county clerk shall be $110,000 beginning December 1st, 2022. The sheriff shall be $125,000 beginning December 1st, 2022. The treasurer shall be $98,000 beginning December 1st, 2022. And the county executive shall be $70,000 beginning December 1st, 2022. These salaries shall be adjusted each year on January 1st by a 2% cost of living adjustment annually.
Board Member
Okay,
Goff,
I think we now need a second to the amendment.
could I get that put up on the screen, please?
I can send it to you, Matt.
Okay, thank you.
Second, McGuire.
Mr. McGuire seconds. Discussion on the amendment. Ms. Rodriguez.
I have nothing on this amendment other than I will be offering my own. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Patterson?
I guess I just want to clarify the amendment.
he said that it would go up by COLA on January 1st, but did you mean December 1st?
Yeah, sorry, Kyle. I had it typed in there wrong. It should be December 1st each year. I'm sorry.
And did you intend to adjust the sheriff's salary? Because on the packet, it's $125,666.18. You said 125,000.
Yeah, I just rounded it for safety's sake. I mean, I don't have a real issue with it being 125,696, but
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. So does that change the details of the amendment then? Is that?
I would accept it as a friendly amendment if you wanted to offer it.
Mr. McGuire, do you take that a friendly amendment suggestion?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Ms. Furtado, do you have further discussion?
Yeah, and I like some of Mr. Goss's amendment because I do find the way that this is written a little bit confusing, because as far as I can tell, it looks like, and I at least this is, I've been trying to figure out exactly what this is. As far as I can tell, we raised on the original one, the clerk by 20, the executive we dropped, and then I think we just applied COLA to 2 of the positions. And that's just kind of weird. Like, I do kind of feel like we should do one thing or the other. Like in terms of the first year, right? Like, it's just weird to just apply COLA to 2 people and not the other. So I feel like you either apply it across the board to everybody or you don't. Like, that's just odd. I do think that, I mean, I would like to see the clerk's raise. I get where Jim is coming from, but I would like to see the clerks closer to where Steve was, just because the clerk is taking on other duties and is behind. And I do think it's important to note that some of the other ones that are behind haven't taken this vote yet. I think that's something we need to all be aware of, is that some of the, and I'm saying behind, but I mean combined, it rhymes at least, like clerk and recorder combined. They also did it within the 4-year term. So like they haven't, I don't think any of those counties have taken a vote on salaries yet. I was trying to find any that had, and I don't think any of them have taken their salary vote yet. So my concern is that if we take that amendment, we're just going to end up being behind the other counties. And I did want to point out that we are behind the other counties on that's on that comparable in terms of treasurer. So I would like to see that treasurer bump up a little bit from 98,000. That'll put the treasurer a solid like $8,000, I think, below the comparables. And I also want to point out the only reason it's only $8,000 is because, for sort of reasons a little bit beyond my comprehension, Rock Island is included in there. And I don't know that Rock Island's really comparable to us, but their numbers are real low. And so they're like below ours. And so they're kind of dragging down the averages. So I would like to see the clerk a little bit higher. And I definitely would like to see the treasurer a little bit higher. But I do support the concept of the amendment of having round numbers, like for all of them, because that just to me makes more sense than this like hybrid half round numbers, half COLA. So that's, I don't know. I don't really know how you do this, like with everybody having amendments, but if y'all wanted to sort of have a conversation about that, I think we maybe could get to a vote.
So if why don't we have discussion, and then if somebody, we need to vote on the amendment that's out there unless there's another friendly amendment for something that everybody agrees on. So Ms. Rodriguez, do you have your hand raised again?
This is not be a friendly amendment. This will be my own amendment. So I will be voting no on this particular one. Again, the way that I see this, my amendment will detail here. The county clerk being at, for setting salaries here, 107,000. The county executive, I see at 80,000. The sheriff remaining the same, and the treasurer being bumped up to 110.
Okay, so that's an alternate proposal.
I
Mr.
can
McGuire?
Word in just a moment. I just wanted to preview.
Sure.
Could you say that again? I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
And I'd be happy to preview, like I want to introduce it here in just a minute, but just because this amendment was introduced, I just wanted to say that this is something I'd be offering.
That's fine. We should consider option. Basically, we're talking about options on the table at this point. So if we can do an official vote on the amendment, if we want to do that. So the numbers were the clerk at 107, I believe. Is that what you said, Emily?
For this, but for
yeah, the clerk. Did you say clerk at 107? The sheriff was
I'm
120.
not offering an amendment to this one. I think it would be simpler if we voted down this amendment and then offered another one.
I know. We're just talking about potential options here. Okay.
I'm happy to talk about this in just a minute, but let's take this one vote at a time. It seems to be most simple.
Mr. McGuire, did you have something else to say?
Yes, thank you. My issue is with the county executives' pay. I think we need to draw the best people for that position. And I don't think that $70,000 represents the compensation based on the other salaries. As a county exec has quite a few more employees and other department heads that would be making quite a bit more. So I just want to make that point. Thank you.
Mr. Harper?
Thank you. I just wanted to go over the numbers Emily just brought up. 107,000, 80,000 executive, 125 sheriff, and 110 treasurer. Is that correct, Emily?
That is incorrect. And again, I'd like this to be introduced in an orderly fashion. I don't want to cram it into a different amendment.
We're not making a different amendment, Emily. We're discussing potential options if people want to decide on things. So what is the correct number?
An amendment on the table right now?
There is a motion on the table to adopt this amendment and discussion. Yes.
I would like to reject this amendment and introduce my own in a moment. That seems to be the most straightforward way to do this.
Well,
but Emily, if I could have the floor just a second. I'm sitting here looking at the comparables. I have Jim's amendment, and I was just trying to compare your numbers to Jim's, so I can make my own.
I in no way said
decision.
$125,000 to the county executive. In no way said that. Not even close.
No. I said 107 to the clerk. Is that what you said?
Yes.
80 to the executive,
Yes.
125 to the sheriff,
Continuing at the same level.
and 110 to the treasurer.
Yes. But again, I'm
Okay, thank you, Emily.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other discussion? Ms. Furtado, is your hand raised again?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Jim, would you, Goss, would you consider bumping up the treasurer to, I don't know, like 100 or 102?
If I thought that would make it pass, yes, I would.
All right.
I could take 100. I think that's where the comparable is.
I mean, the comparable, to be fair, is 100. And Jim, just to let you know, the comparable, the comp, to be fair, is 103 next year. So we're about $6-7 grand off. So I mean, 100 would get us closer. And I'm going to ask, I think I know the answer to this question, but would you at all consider bumping up the clerk?
No, I basically tied it to Madison County, which is the highest of the bunch, and I think that's a fair comp for Champaign County and Madison County. So that's where I started.
Okay. So could, I don't know, Mr. McGuire, would you I guess I'm not allowed to say, I don't know, can somebody ask if Mr. McGuire
I would agree with the changes that have been discussed, yes.
100, okay.
Okay, so the numbers we're at is the clerk at 100 and, tell me what your numbers are.
110,
110,
county exec 70,
okay,
sheriff 125,666, and treasurer at 100,000.
okay. And Mr. McGuire, you agreed to that as a friendly amendment?
Yeah, except for the 666 part. You change it 66.
Well, then you don't agree.
I
can
agree
move
with
that
that.
to 667 if you want to.
I don't want to trap the office with that kind of wage. Anyway, thank
So Jim, are you agreeing
do
agreeing
agree.
to the friendly amendment, Jim?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it'll be 167?
No, it'll be 125.
125.
7.
Okay, 125, 667.
Correct.
Okay, and the seconder of the amendment has agreed. So I guess now, Mr. Summers, did you want to speak to the amendment?
I had a question with Mr. Goss's amendment. Is the COLA, did I hear correctly that you have the COLA at 2% instead of 3%? Is that correct?
I did.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Okay, any further discussion on the amendment? Mr. Storr?
Thank you. Would that COLA, is that a firm number that would be carried each year for the next 4 years?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it says, yes.
Yes, I believe unless we spell it out right now, we can't change it once we set it. So that's why you set it now. I mean, I agree. I mean, we don't know what the cost of living is going to be the next 4 years. I'm saying these people are paid fairly well for, when you consider most of them get some sort of state stipend as well. These people are paid pretty well.
What state stipend are they getting? I guess I'm lost on that one.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure that everybody on the board realizes that all the officials in the county, with the exception of the county executive, get paid also a stipend from the state to do their work that's required to report back to the state for things. And it's approximately $6,500 for each official for the year. That's in statute of their, if they're offices. It's not supposed to be reflected in a salary comparison, but they are getting it, so.
And just one more question. Are you firm on that $70,000 figure for the executive? No increase at all? Or no, actually, that's a reduction, but I mean, are you pretty firm on that 70,000?
Well, I mean, I want to get it through. So if you tell me what it's going to take to get it passed, then I'll see whether I can accept it. So if you've got an idea, that was what was proposed at the last meeting. I simply took what was proposed.
Okay. Well, $70,000 was proposed, when the county executive position was established, the salary was established. And I would suggest that at least some increase is deserved over that particular period of time. And one of the other board members, Ms. Rodriguez, suggested $80,000, and that seemed reasonable to me.
At this point, I'm thinking we're gonna have to vote on it. And then if it passes or doesn't pass, we could probably decide if we need to change a number. Mr. Summers?
With regard to your amendment, Jim, would you have any flexibility at all in terms of COLA? I'm concerned about that keeping up, even if it was incremental. Just checking.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but again, I mean, the money that they're getting as a stipend, I mean, I realize we can't count it in, but you know, these folks are paid pretty well for elected officials. I think we do a reasonable job at these prices. I realize we've got money today, but that doesn't necessarily mean when this grant funding that's going on right now, when it runs out, I'm concerned that we, you know, it's too late. Once we commit to this, 3 years down the road, we're stuck paying these salaries. And I think we've kept up, and certainly a 2%. I mean, I don't know about everybody in here, but a 2%'s been about what I've been getting for COLAs as well. So, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's unreasonable.
Would you be willing to entertain 2 1/4, 2.25?
If that will get your vote, yes.
3
Thank
is
you.
really what beat.
Okay, Ms. King? You're muted, Mary.
My bad, sorry. I think the amendment as it stands is incredibly reasonable. And I'd like to point out that the median income for an individual in Champaign County is $28,000 a year, and the median income for a family is $52,000 a year. So an elected official getting paid 6 figures is doing very, very well for themselves. And I also think that the 2% COLA is more than good enough considering the stipend on top of it.
Mr. Paul?
Why am I being ignored?
I was just coming to say that I agree with Mary.
Okay, Mr. McGuire, you have a second turn.
Okay, thank you. I want to go back to what Mr. Storr said. Obviously, I'm a little confused on why we're making amendments to other salaries, but the $80,000 for the executive couldn't also be accepted as a friendly change.
Well, that would be up to Mr. Goss if he wants to change it.
I'm not willing to accept it.
Mr. Harper?
I'm like Jacob Paul. I agree completely with what Mary just said. The 2% COLA and the money they're making plus the stipend, they're getting well compensated. Thank you.
Okay, I think everybody's had at least 2 turns to speak. Did you have one more thing, Jim?
Sorry, no, thank you.
Okay. All right, then I guess we are now voting on the amendment. Actually, we're voting on the thing with the amendment. So do you have it, Matt? Do you want to read it back? Matt, do you have what the resolution would be with all those amendments, or do you want me to do it?
Sorry, I was talking on mute.
That's okay.
I have the Goss amendment with the clerk at 110,000, county executive at 70,000, the sheriff at 125,667, the treasurer at 100,000, and a cost of living adjustment of 2%.
On December 1st of those
On
year of December 1st of 2023, 24, 25, because the date got changed back to the 1st of December instead of January.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So is everybody clear on what we're voting on?
No, please repeat that again, please.
One quick note here. Did we say 2% or 2.5? I believe that we agreed on 2.5 for this amendment.
No, I don't think we did agree on that.
I said 2%.
Yeah, 2%. There wasn't an amendment to change it to 2.5 or a friendly amendment to do that.
Must have just been mentioned in conversation then. Thank you.
Okay. Can you read it one more time, Matt?
All right. The Goss amendment change has the clerk at 110,000, county executive at 70,000, the sheriff at 125,667, the treasurer at 100,000, change the date to December 1st and 2% cost of living adjustment.
Okay. So we're going to vote on whether we're accepting this resolution with the amendment. The way that, well, I would say the way it was amended because they were all friendly amendments. Okay. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Vintage Theorenot,
Yes.
Vulcan,
Yes.
Carter,
No.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Passalacqua,
Yes.
Paul,
No.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Okay, now we are moving on to discussion items for tonight. The first one
That was
is
just
property
nothing,
tax levy.
Darling, we just voted on the amendment.
Well, yeah, those were all friendly amendments to the original motion.
No, that he amended the thing, I thought. Was Mr. Goss's motion not an amendment to the resolution that is on the, because the resolution on the agenda specifies what the.
Yeah, you're
salaries
okay.
are.
I guess the very first one was, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
So
correct.
yes, we do need to go back and vote again on the same thing over again, that we're adopting this proposal.
Madam Chair, can we get clarity on the date of the, when the changes will take place in the salaries?
The changes will take place on December 1st of each year following the election. So it'll be, we need to have December 1st of 2023, 2024, 2025.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we're going back to the original. Now we're going back to the original proposal with the resolution with the amendments, with the amended amounts. So would the clerk call the roll again, please?
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Vintage Theorenot,
Yes.
Vulcan,
Yes.
Carter,
No.
Cowart,
Yes.
Esri,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Passalacqua,
Yes.
Paul,
No.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. All right, now we move on to discussion items. Property tax levy, tax rate. You got the memo from Tammy about that. This shows all the different categories of the levy funds that we levy as a county. And we do not have to do a public hearing because we did not exceed the 5% PTEL cap. So we will be able to not do that step. Is there any, or if there are any questions, I can take them back. Tammy's not on tonight, but I could take back questions if you have specific things you need to ask about that. Mr. Storr?
Thank you. Page 59, cannabis sales tax. it's originally projected at 600,000, but originally budgeted at 600,000, projected at 0, and the 2022 is projected at 0. Are we not expected to gain any sales tax from cannabis?
We are not expected to be able to report it individually. The law requires that we do not report it individually because there are fewer than 4 businesses. Did you want to say something else, Stephanie?
Yeah, just to mention that I have spoken with, and I believe Kyle has as well, with the legislators in both bodies that represent our district, to see if the state can make a fix of that, because I do think it's a problem that we can't talk about that. But it would have to be action by the state in order to, so we're getting the money, but we just can't know how much. And even some counties weren't, or cities weren't even like appropriating it because they didn't even know if they could have talked about it to even appropriate it. So it seems like a problem with the law. And this is not the tax law, but down the road, hopefully one day we'll be allowed to talk about it. But right now, Chris, it just gets glommed in with other sales tax. We're not allowed to talk about it.
Thanks for everybody refreshing my memory. I noticed that the revenue totals, may I continue?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Page 63. I noticed that the revenue totals, and I'm going to get help from the cat, are quite a bit higher for the 2021. Does that include all of the ARPA money, the $40 million, or is that half of the ARPA money and a big chunk of something else?
So it includes the ARPA money that we received during 2021. And then we have the other half budgeted in 2022 that we will be receiving. But it also includes, if you recall, the Regional Planning Commission got a significant several millions of dollars of grants and those kinds of things. Anything else, Mr. Paul? Did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to speak on the cannabis sales tax for a minute, and we really need to be super careful as a county to keep that money as separate in our own finances as we can. There's been some federal backlash against states recently on the West Coast, and I believe in Hawaii as well, where some of those funds are being seized for civil forfeiture because it's still illegal federally. So I would hate for us to lose county money where we can't say which is which. Then they'll take more because then we have to go to court, and I would hate to spend money on lawyers for that. So I mean, we should be as safe as possible. Even if I would rather deal with state lawyers than federal lawyers about speaking on the money.
Okay, thank you. Okay. No further questions about the property tax. Let's move on to the update. Is Kathy here tonight? I don't know if we have an update on ARPA tonight since we're going to be talking about that next Friday. Kathy, do you have update tonight?
No major update. It's just that we're collecting the responses from the input form and summing those up for sending out soon.
Okay, thank you. And then item C is recommendation for the county reapportionment map plan revision. As you know from my memo, we can consider additional map options because the delay, the legislature did finally at the very last minute agree that the deadlines could be moved back after we had already adopted our map. And so I've given you a potential new map to look at. The requirement is that we do have a public hearing. So unless I hear otherwise from someone, we can plan to do that in October. We do have to submit our new, whatever map we're going to do by November. So that's the process going forward. Hope you all have a chance to look at it. And I think it does make some improvements. I did start with the equity map that we had adopted earlier. Any questions about the map? Okay, seeing none. Any other business?
Wait a minute, I
I'm
guess.
sorry, Somebody have their hand raised?
Well, of course I did. And,
Oh, okay, Mr. Storr.
Map nerd here speaking.
Okay.
I'd like to see a version of the map that we can zoom in on and actually see streets and so forth. We have the GIS capability for that in-house. And if possible, I think that there may be some other data that could kind of be electronic data, census data in the census blocks and so forth that might also be made available.
Okay, well, you can go onto the website that we used and that was distributed earlier. I can get you that link again if you need it to look and see, and that will enlarge itself so that you can see the street names and those kinds of things. So I'd be happy to send that link out.
I tried looking for it and didn't find it. So maybe if it were made a little bit more obvious, that would be helpful. This is going to be a controversial topic.
Okay, be happy to do that. Ms. Lakshan?
Muted, sorry. I was going to raise my hand to say I had checked a couple of days ago and I didn't see the layers available on the GIS tool, but I just pulled it up now and I see that they're now available on there. So that answers my question. Thank you so much for getting that loaded.
Sure, you're welcome. Okay. Then seeing no further business, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.